Hoxxes IV is not a world of balance or beauty. It is a planet split in half, bound in eternal tension. One face burns endlessly beneath the blaze of its star, a desert scorched beyond hope of life. The other is locked in perpetual night, a land of frozen wastelands and storms without end. Between them lies the thin crust of stone, and within that crust, the caverns. It is said these caverns are richer than any vault, glittering with veins of gold, crystals of teal and green, and stones that whisper with strange energy. The corporation calls it the single most profitable mining ground in the known universe. But for every treasure unearthed, the planet exacts its toll. Storms crackle through the stone, electromagnetic tempests tearing through machinery. Caves collapse without warning, opening into endless pits. And always, the chittering echoes of the Glyphids, the native swarm that defends this world like a living immune system. For the dwarves sent here, Hoxxes is not simply a workplace. It is a proving ground, a curse, and perhaps a slow revelation of something far greater. Some whisper the planet itself is alive, its wealth unnatural, seeded long ago by forces unseen. Others believe the Heartstones, the glowing cores pried from its depths, are organs torn from the body of a dying world. The records are incomplete. The truth is buried, but the story remains, hidden in the stone, waiting to be unearthed. Hoxxes IV is a planet carved into extremes. The surface itself is divided cleanly by the tyranny of its orbit, forever facing its star on one side, forever turned away on the other. On the day side, deserts stretch endlessly, baked into glassy plains. Dust storms rise without warning, shrouding the horizon in a veil of red and gold. Radiation burns through the thin atmosphere, leaving the land cracked, brittle, and silent. Some explorers have described it as a graveyard of light, where nothing moves and the very air feels scorched. On the night side, the silence is colder, but no less cruel. Wastelands of ice extend beneath a ceiling of storms. Blizzards roll endlessly, and the winds carve strange spirals into the snow. Yet here, in the absence of light, alien fungi bloom, pale towers of bioluminescence, pulsing with soft blue glows that paint the caverns like stars fallen into the earth. Beneath both faces of the planet lies the true frontier, a labyrinth of caverns so vast and shifting that no map remains accurate for long. The cave systems breathe and change. Walls collapse, tunnels split, rivers of magma crack open beneath the miners' boots. Some corridors twist back upon themselves, as though the planet is folding its stone like muscle and sinew. There are records of entire expeditions lost in minutes, swallowed whole by cave-ins, or swept away by underground floods. And then there are the hazards not born of stone, fields of gravitational distortion where rock hangs weightless, floating as if time itself has fractured, pools of acid, luminous and green, steaming away the air above them. Magnetic interference zones where compasses spin, sensors fail, and dwarves stumble blind. And storms, electromagnetic tempests that spark across metal and flesh alike, leaving only silence when they pass. Hoxxes IV is not simply a place of danger. It is a place that resists intrusion. Every inch of geography feels designed not for life, but for rejection. And yet, within these hostile features lies the glitter of unimaginable wealth. The caverns of Hoxxes are not empty. They are alive, restless, and filled with creatures that seem less like animals and more like extensions of the planet itself. The most infamous are the Glyphids. They swarm in endless varieties: small biting drones, armored brutes, acid spitting variants, and towering dreadnoughts. Each one is bound to a hive mind, moving with uncanny coordination as if directed by a single will. Their shells glisten with radiation scarred plating, their claws sharpened by generations in the toxic dark. Some miners whisper that the Glyphids are not merely predators, but guardians. An immune system, bred or designed to purge intruders from the stone. Yet they are not alone. From ceilings hang the cave leeches, creatures of pure patience. They linger in silence, their tendrils coiling downward until they seize an unwary miner, dragging them screaming into the shadows. There are records of leeches feeding for hours, suspended in absolute stillness while their prey slowly vanishes. The darkness also breeds winged terrors. The Mctera grabbers sweep silently through caverns, seizing dwarves in their many limbs and lifting them into the void. Entire expeditions have ended this way. A single dwarf carried screaming into the black, his voice fading, then silence. And then there are the natocytes, swarms of floating jellyfish like organisms. Their bodies glow with an eerie aquatic light as they drift through tunnels, discharging arcs of electricity into anything they touch. They are fragile, but their numbers and disorienting shocks turn even a simple encounter into a storm of panic and pain. Not all threats crawl or fly. Some plants themselves are predators. The spitball infector, rooted into the stone, lobs volleys of corrosive bile. The Vartok scale bramble spreads thorned vines across walls, lashing at anything warm-blooded that brushes too close. And deeper still, barrage infectors lurk, fungi so swollen with acid sacs that their eruptions paint the caves in chemical fire. Yet not all life is hostile. In the depths, pockets of bioluminescent creatures wander the dark, pulsing with faint light like drifting embers. Some dwarves tell stories of them as guardians, spirits of the planet offering guidance or warning. There is no proof, only stories told around the bar, whispered between drinks. But the glow of these creatures lingers in the memory of those who see them, as if the planet itself has eyes, watching, judging. The wealth of Hoxxes is not measured in surface soil or flowing rivers. It is measured in the veins that wind through its bones, a catalog of minerals so rich that no other world compares. First is the gold, gleaming lodes that break open with the light of lanterns, scattering coins of brilliance into the dust. It is simple, timeless, and valued across the galaxy. Yet here, it is only the beginning. Morkite follows, veins of shimmering teal that run like rivers through stone. It is volatile, essential, and shrouded in secrecy. The corporation requires it in staggering quantities, yet never reveals its true purpose. Some say it is refined into energy, others whisper it fuels technologies not yet known. Among dwarves, it is simply called management's secret. Nitra burns red in the rock, jagged and crystalline. Unlike other treasures, it has no value beyond survival. 80 units is the threshold, the cost of calling in a resupply drop when ammunition runs dry. Every miner knows that without Nitra, there is only silence and death in the dark. Beyond these staples lie the crafting minerals, exotic stones whose names are etched like charms. Bismore, with its jagged green-blue crystals. Cropa, pale green streaked with purple, growing near veins of other ores. Jadiz, heavy and luminous, so dense it must be carried by hand. Enor pearls, Smooth spheres buried in salt and sand, eumenite, bright green and glowing, drawn up like veins of lifeblood from the radioactive depths. Each of these is bartered for overclocks, upgrades, and weapons, the tools of survival in a world determined to consume. And then there are the Heartstones, the most dangerous prize of all, massive cores of dark crystal encased in living shells of stone. To claim one, a drill dozer must bore through layers, while the Heartstone itself fights back, hurling rocks, summoning crystalline defenses, pulsing with energy waves that shatter stone and bone alike. When it breaks open, the core shines with a sickly glow, carried away like an organ ripped from the planet's chest. Some weapons, like the shard diffractor, are powered by fragments of these cores, proof of the energy locked within. But there is unease in the archives. Why does this planet yield so much? Why do its caves glitter with riches beyond reason? Some whisper the minerals are not natural, that they were seeded, engineered, or grown deliberately long before dwarves arrived. Others fear that each heartstone torn from the depths weakens the planet further, as if its very body is being hollowed out for profit. Riches, yes, but riches tangled with secrets. And in Hoxxes, every secret bleeds. The planet may belong to the void, to stone, and to storms, but its exploitation belongs to one name alone, Deep Rock Galactic. The corporation frames itself as a frontier company, bold, efficient, and unflinching. In their broadcasts, Hoxxes IV is hailed as the crown jewel, the richest deposit of minerals known to the galaxy. They speak of progress, discovery, and opportunity. But for the dwarves who descend daily into its tunnels, the truth is sharper. Dig together, or dig your own grave. That is the motto. A reminder that cooperation is survival, but also that failure means replacement. For in the ledgers of Deep Rock Galactic, dwarves are not pioneers. They are resources, expendable, interchangeable, and always replaceable. The corporation's records are a blend of fact and omission. They admit the hazards, storms that erase sensors, caverns that collapse like lungs exhaling, predators that hunt in waves. But there is an unspoken layer, a silence in their reports that dwarves whisper about between drinks. Why is Morkite's purpose a closely guarded secret? Why do Heartstones resist extraction with intelligence, as if defending themselves? Why do rumors persist that the planet itself might be alive? Some archived memos hint at more, redacted lines about planetary defense mechanisms, references to grayout events where mining operations suddenly went dark, and recruitment slogans that sound more like warnings than encouragement. Danger, darkness. Dwarves around the bar, in the dim glow of the space rig, the miners talk freely. They speak of the bugs as guardians, the minerals as planted, the heartstones as organs. They joke about being expendable, but in their laughter lies suspicion that perhaps Deep Rock Galactic is not revealing the full truth, that the company knows far more about Hoxxes IV than it will ever admit, and so the corporate myths persist. Officially, the planet is dangerous, yes, but profitable. Unofficially, it is whispered to be cursed, collapsing, or actively defended by its own ecosystem. Which story is true depends on who you ask, and perhaps on how much the corporation wishes you to survive to tell it. For the corporation, Hoxxes is numbers and quotas. For the dwarves, it is something older, a proving ground, a place of trial, a legend in motion. Around the bar on the space rig, Stories circulate with every mug of fermented brew, tales of miners swallowed whole by shifting tunnels, only to re-emerge days later, eyes glowing faintly like the bioluminescent fungi below. Whispers that the Glyphids do not kill indiscriminately, but choose their targets as if guided by intelligence. Rumors that the Heartstones pulse like beating hearts, and that those who carry them hear faint rhythms long after the mission ends. These are not official records. They are campfire stories, told in the glow of neon signs and the haze of alcohol. Yet they shape the dwarves as much as any corporate training manual. To work Hoxxes is to enter into a pact, to wrest riches from a cursed planet while knowing that every descent could be the last. Superstition flourishes. Some dwarves carry shards of crystal as charms, claiming the stone wards off cave-ins. Others paint glyphid mandibles on their armor, not as trophies, but as talismans against further attack. Every team has their rituals, from spitting before boarding the drop pod to chanting lines from old dwarven songs that echo faintly in the caverns. The community beyond the game carries its own speculations. Some see Hoxxes as a dying world, cracked open by endless mining, bleeding its minerals into waiting hands. Others treat the bugs as an immune system, the Heartstones as planetary organs, the caves themselves as veins and arteries of a wounded body. These interpretations blur fact with myth, but they persist, passed on in forums, fan theories, and the unending tapestry of speculation. For dwarves, Hoxxes is not just employment, it is a curse worth dying for, a stage upon which every death feels both tragic and inevitable, and every return is a quiet defiance of the dark. In the archives of Deep Rock Galactic, Hoxxes IV is never simply a backdrop. It is the stage, the antagonist, and often the star. In the original Deep Rock Galactic, the planet is alive with procedural chaos. Every mission is a descent into an unpredictable death trap. Caves collapse without warning. Swarms pour from the dark like blood cells rushing to a wound. To survive, dwarves must cooperate, sharing ammunition, flares, and courage. The gameplay itself becomes a reflection of the planet's hostility, demanding unity in the face of overwhelming odds. In Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, the story narrows. No longer a squad of miners, but one dwarf alone against the endless swarms. The focus sharpens to raw survival, highlighting the hostility of Hoxxes stripped bare. Here the planet feels less like a worksite and more like a gauntlet, a relentless test of endurance, with every cavern a crucible. And then there is Rogue Core, where the tale takes another turn. The Greyout silences mining operations. Facilities fall dark. A new faction, the Reclaimers, descends not for profit, but for answers. The question shifts from extraction to revelation. What is the true nature of Hoxxes? The planet looms larger than ever, less a resource, more a mystery. Across each game, the message is constant. Hoxxes IV is not just scenery, it is a character, merciless, enigmatic, inexhaustible. A presence that reacts, resists, and reshapes itself with every descent. In a galaxy of worlds, it stands apart, as if designed to test not only the dwarves, but the players themselves. The archives end here, but the mysteries remain. Why is Hoxxes IV so rich in minerals when no other planet compares? Are its veins natural or seeded long ago by hands unseen? Were the Glyphids born of evolution or engineered as guardians to repel intruders? What truly are the Heartstones? Are they fuel cores, alien artifacts, or the very organs of a living world, ripped out piece by piece in the name of profit? If the planet resists extraction, is it not simply geology at war with miners, but a body fighting back? And what does Deep Rock Galactic truly know? Why do their reports omit more than they reveal? Why do they guard the secrets of Morkite's purpose? Why do their slogans echo more like warnings than promises? Some say Hoxxes is alive. Others whisper it is already dying, bleeding out under the drills and detonations, its collapse inevitable. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps the planet is screaming in storms, in swarms, in endless collapse, and no one is listening. The truth, if it exists, lies buried deeper than any miner has ever dug, deeper than any archive, any record, any whisper. And so, the file closes, and static swallows the last words. The recorder clicks, and silence falls, like stone sealing a tomb. The sound fades into nothing, unresolved, leaving only the question that lingers: what lies beneath Hoxxes IV?